Do you ever feel like you're just constantly putting out fires, perpetually busy, always saying yes to things, but, well, none of it really seems to push your goals forward?
Mm-hmm. It's that feeling of being completely swamped.
Exactly. You're caught in this trap, always moving, super active, but maybe feeling, frankly, a bit underutilized and definitely exhausted.
That's the classic non-essentialist problem, isn't it? All this activity, but it doesn't translate into real contribution. We end up spreading ourselves way too thin.
Because deep down, maybe we think everything's kind of equally important.
Sort of, yeah. Or we just haven't stopped to figure out what isn't. So we never really focus on the few things that are truly vital.
Well, that sets us up perfectly for today's deep dive. We're digging into essentialism, which is more than just, time management tips. It's a whole mindset.
A disciplined way of thinking.
Right, to help you pursue less, but make sure it's better. The mission here is to pull out the core ideas, the mental shifts, and maybe some practical tools you can use to get off that hamster wheel and really maximize your contribution without burning out.
And it really all starts with reclaiming something fundamental.
Yeah.
The power of choice.
Okay, let's break that down because, honestly, if you're feeling overwhelmed, the idea of choice might feel, well, a bit out of reach.
Sure.
The core shift seems to be moving from that feeling of, oh, I have to do this, to realizing, no, I choose to do this. Why is that simple change of words so powerful?
Because, fundamentally, if we don't consciously choose, we're basically choosing by default.
Right. Like, okay.
And when that happens, we're letting other people, your boss, market pressures, social stuff, set our agenda for us. The author we looked at had this big realization around law school.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about that.
Well, he was thinking about dropping out, but he kept putting off the decision. And he realized that by not actively choosing to leave, he had, sort of by default, chosen to stay. He hadn't really chosen it, but his inaction made the choice for him.
Wow. So by not exercising your agency, you've kind of sleepwalked into a commitment.
Exactly. And that's how the non-essentialists get stuck in what the sources call learned helplessness.
They feel powerless.
Right. So they just react, become hyperactive, grab every single opportunity that comes along because they feel like they can't say no, they don't have a choice.
Mistaking all that motion for progress?
Precisely. Activity mistaken for productivity. So once you really embrace that you do have a choice, the next step, logically, is discernment. Figuring out the unimportance of almost everything.
Okay, the unimportance of nearly everything. That sounds dramatic.
It is a bit dramatic, but it's powerful.
Yeah.
We all know the Pareto principle, right? The 80-20 rule.
Sure. 20% of your effort gets you 80% of the results. It's a classic.
It's a great starting point. But essentialism suggests the reality is often even more extreme than 80-20.
How so?
Well, 80-20 still kind of implies a somewhat linear relationship. But what the research often shows, like with the power law, is that the distribution can be wildly exponential.
Yeah.
Think about top software engineers.
Okay.
Some studies suggest the very best aren't just twice as good or 10 times as good. They might be like 10,000 times more productive than an average one.
10,000 times. That's staggering. Yeah. That's definitely not 80-20.
Not even close. It's an extreme difference. So the essentialist isn't just trying to trim the fat, cut out the least valuable 20%. They're hunting for that tiny sliver, maybe 1% of effort, that yields 50% or more of the results.
That's the real game changer, finding the exponential path, not just the linear one.
Exactly. It's a difference between doing lots of things okay and doing one or two things exceptionally well. There's that personal story from the sources about the paperboy.
Right. Delivering papers was like a direct one-to-one effort versus reward.
Totally linear. Put in X effort, get X money. But then he started washing cars for neighbors.
And that shifted the ratio.
Massively. Suddenly it was more like 1 to 6. Same kind of effort, maybe, but way more reward. He found an exponentially better path.
So you have to actively look for those opportunities, explore a bit. It reminds me of that Dieter Rams example, the Braun designer.
Oh, a classic essentialist thinker.
Yeah. I mean, back then, turntables were these heavy, dark, wooden boxes. That was the norm.
Right. Hidden away.
But Rams filtered all that noise out. He asked, what's the essence here? And he came up with that revolutionary clear plastic lid. Suddenly you saw the mechanics, the beauty of the function.
He subtracted everything non-essential to reveal the core value. Maximum contribution through reduction.
And that clarity, finding that essence, is what allows you to do the really hard part of essentialism, which is elimination.
Yes. If you truly buy into the idea that only a very few things really matter, then getting rid of the trivial majority, that other 80 or 90%, well, it stops being optional. It becomes your core strategy.
Okay, but this is usually where people, myself included, sometimes start to squirm. We hate trade-offs, don't we?
We really do.
We want it all. We ask, how can I make it all work? But the essentialist view is that strategy is the trade-off.
Absolutely. Strategy, real strategy, is about making deliberate choices to not do things. If you try to do everything, you just end up compromising everywhere, often in ways you never intended.
So the better question isn't, how do I juggle everything?
No, it's which problem do I actually want to solve? Or, put another way, which specific trade-off am I willing to make?
That really crystallizes it. And the Southwest Airlines example is perfect for this, isn't it? Such an essentialist strategy.
Textbook case. They were ruthless about what they chose not to be.
Right. No meals, no reserved seating, no first class, no hub and spoke system initially.
And every single one of those no's wasn't just a cost-cutting tactic. It was part of a coherent strategy to absolutely dominate the low-cost point-to-point market.
And you contrast that with, what was it, Continental Light?
Yeah, Continental Light. They tried to copy Southwest's low fares, but they weren't willing to make the hard trade-offs in service and operations.
They wanted both.
They wanted both. They tried to be everything to everyone, this sort of strategy of being stuck in the middle. And unsurprisingly, it failed spectacularly. They lost hundreds of millions.
Because they couldn't commit to the necessary eliminations. Okay, so if we accept that elimination is crucial, how do we actually build the filter? How do we make sure we're only letting in the truly essential, the top 10%? We need a high bar.
A very high bar. The filter has to be rigorous. This brings us to something like the 90% rule.
Explain that one. How does it work?
Okay, so when you're evaluating an opportunity, maybe a new project, or even just a request, you first identify the single most important criterion for you. It could be maximum impact, personal growth, alignment with your core mission, whatever, just one.
Got it. One key factor.
Then you rate the opportunity on a scale of 0 to 100 based only on that one factor.
Okay, simple enough. But here's the tough part, I'm guessing.
This is the tough part. If the rating is anything less than, say, 90, you automatically change the score to 0 and you reject it.
Wow, so an 85, which sounds pretty good,
becomes a 0.
A 70, definitely out.
0. You don't accept the pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
You're not looking for good. You are only looking for the absolute best fit for that crucial criterion.
That requires real discipline because you're potentially saying no to things that seem genuinely good opportunities.
You absolutely are. That forced selectivity is the whole point. You have to be willing to turn down a good thing, trusting that by keeping your powder dry, by preserving your resources and focus, you'll be ready when the truly great opportunity, the 95-pointer, shows up.
You need the space for it. Otherwise, you get bogged down in mediocrity.
Exactly. But as you said, applying that filter takes courage, which leads us to the practical challenge. The art of the elegant no.
Ah, yes, saying no. So hard for so many people. Why is it so difficult? Is it just guilt? Fear of letting people down?
It's all of that, isn't it? Fear of conflict, fear of missing out, fear of damaging a relationship, fear of disappointing your boss. The internal hurdles are huge.
So how does the essentialist reframe this? How do they get past that psychological block?
They fundamentally understand that every time you say yes to something non-essential, you are implicitly saying no to something that is essential, maybe essential to your goals, your health, your family.
That's a powerful reframe. It's not just saying no, it's saying yes to something more important.
Precisely. And they realize they're trading short-term likability, maybe, for long-term respect. People actually respect clarity and boundaries, even if they don't like the no in the moment. Think of Peter Drucker.
The management guru.
Yeah. He famously said his productivity wasn't about complex systems. It came from saying no. He apparently had a very large wastebasket, specifically for handling invitations. He valued his contribution more than pleasing everyone.
Okay, so that reframing helps build the internal resolve. But then, how do you actually deliver the no gracefully, without being blunt or awkward, or even using the word no?
There are some great techniques. One is surprisingly simple. The embarrassing pause.
The embarrassing pause. Tell me more.
When someone makes a request, especially if it feels a bit impulsive or demanding, just pause. Don't rush to fill the silence. Count to 3 in your head. Let it hang there.
What happens?
Often the other person gets a bit uncomfortable and might actually soften their request, offer alternatives, or even backtrack entirely, realizing they might have overstepped. The silence does the work for you.
Huh. I like that. What else?
Another good one is buying time for reflection. Instead of a knee-jerk yes, you say something like, let me check my schedule and I'll get back to you.
Ah, so you decouple the decision from the immediate social pressure.
Exactly. It gives you space to think clearly and then deliver a considered logical refusal later if needed, rather than an impulsive yes you regret.
Makes sense. And what about dealing with, say, your boss or senior people, where a flat no feels risky?
That's where you use the technique that forces them to acknowledge the trade-off. You don't refuse, you redirect the choice back to them.
How does that sound?
You might say, yes, I can definitely take that on. To make sure it gets the attention it deserves, what current project should I deprioritize or hand off?
Oh, clever. So you're agreeing, but highlighting the consequence. You're making the trade-off explicit for them.
Precisely. You're not the obstacle. You're just presenting the reality of limited capacity. It forces them to consider if the new request is truly more essential than what's already on your plate.
Brilliant. Okay, so let's say we've embraced the mindset, we're making conscious choices, we're eliminating the non-essentials with our high filter and elegant no's. The final piece seems to be about making the execution of the essentials feel, well, effortless.
As effortless as possible, yes, through building good systems. And that really starts with protecting your most important asset.
Which is yourself, your energy, your focus.
Exactly. Your mind, your body, your spirit. It's your core operating system. And yet the non-essentialist often falls for the myth that, sleep is for the weak or pulling all-nighters is some kind of badge of honor.
Yeah, that hustle culture narrative. But all the actual science points in the complete opposite direction, doesn't it?
Completely. You simply cannot produce your best work, your maximum contribution, if the tool you're using, your brain, is compromised.
There's that research comparing sleep deprivation to being drunk, right?
Yeah, from Seisler at Harvard. Being significantly sleep deprived impairs cognitive function as much as being legally intoxicated. You're not getting more done by skipping sleep. You're just doing worse quality work for longer hours.
And the study on elite violinists.
Right. It wasn't just about hours practiced. The very top performers averaged something like 8.6 hours of sleep per day. They prioritized recovery as much as practice.
So the essentialist view is, I'm choosing to do one less thing tonight, namely, sacrificing sleep so that I can accomplish far more and at a much higher quality tomorrow.
That's the trade-off. Protect the asset. So once the asset is protected, how do we make the actual work, the execution, flow more easily instead of always feeling like pushing a boulder uphill?
Yeah, how do we reduce that friction?
Essentialists invest time up front to remove obstacles rather than just applying more force later. This often means confronting things like the sunk cost fallacy.
The sunk cost trap. We've all been there. Pouring good money or time or energy after bad just because we've already invested so much.
It's such a powerful cognitive bias. We see it with huge projects like famously the Concorde jet. They kept pouring money in long after it was clear it wouldn't be commercially viable.
And we do it personally too, right? Sticking with a failing side project or even a relationship just because of the history.
Absolutely. It feels like quitting would be wasting everything already put in. It feels like a betrayal.
So how does the essentialist cut through that emotional attachment? How do they make the objective call?
They force objectivity with a simple, brutal question. Knowing what I know now, if I weren't already invested in this, how much would I currently invest to get into it?
Oof, that's stark.
It is. And if the honest answer is zero, or very little, then the essentialist cuts their losses and moves on, regardless of the sunk costs. It's about future contribution, not past expenditure.
Okay. And what about when you're trying to improve a whole process, not just kill a bad project? Where do you focus your energy for maximum leverage?
That's where you look for the bottleneck. The concept of the slowest walker drawn from the book The Goal is key here.
So finding the one thing that's holding everything else up.
Exactly. Instead of trying to make marginal improvements across 10 different steps, you identify the single biggest constraint, the slowest walker in the hiking group, the bottleneck in the factory line, and you focus all your improvement efforts sequentially on that one spot.
And when you fix that one bottleneck,
the performance of the entire system can jump dramatically. It's not linear improvement. It can be exponential because you've addressed the single limiting factor.
Makes sense. Focus the effort where it matters most. And sometimes the obstacle isn't even a real problem, right? It might just be unnecessary work we've gotten used to, like that reverse pilot example.
Oh, I love that one. Daniel Shapiro at LinkedIn.
Right. Yeah, tell that story.
He inherited this huge, complex weekly report that took ages to compile and was sent out to all the top executives. Everyone just assumed it was essential.
Standard procedure.
Right. But instead of asking people if they needed it, which they probably would have said yes to out of habit, he just stopped sending it.
Yeah.
Quietly.
He just stopped.
and waited.
He just stopped and waited. His theory was if it was truly essential, someone would scream pretty quickly.
And
Silence. Nobody noticed. Nobody asked where it was. It turned out to be completely non-essential work, creating friction and wasting time for years. He eliminated it with a simple silent test.
that is just perfectly essentialist, isn't it? The clarity to just subtract what isn't actually adding value, what isn't serving that core contribution. That really is the essence of it all. This whole approach, essentialism, it's about gaining more control, creating less chaos, and ultimately finding more satisfaction, maybe even joy in what you do.
It feels like it brings things back into focus.
And if we loop back to that initial promise, finding more meaning, maybe you think about the ancient Greeks and their words for time.
Okay.
They had chronos, which is the time we all know. Quantitative, chronological, clock time. The minutes and hours we're always trying to manage, always racing against.
Oh, right. We're obsessed with managing chronos.
We are. But they also had kairos. And kairos is different. It's qualitative time, opportune time. It's about the quality of the moment.
So less about the clock ticking and more about being present.
Exactly. Being fully present, fully focused, fully engaged, because you know deep down that what you are doing right now is the most important thing you could be doing. It's the right time for the right action.
So the ultimate goal, the real freedom the essentialist finds, isn't just getting more done in less chronos time.
Although that often happens.
Right. But it's about experiencing more kairos. That feeling of deep focus, alignment, and presence.
That presence, that kairos experience, that's the real reward for the disciplined pursuit of less but better.
So let's leave everyone with this thought then, a provocative question to chew on.
What is the one thing, just one, maybe a commitment you made, a report you produce, a recurring meeting, a request you keep saying yes to? What's the one thing you can eliminate starting today?
So that tomorrow you can be just a little bit more present, a little more focused on what truly matters, finding your kairos.
By the way, if you'd like to dive deeper and really make this book part of your journey, I left a safe link below where you can get your physical copy. Having it in your hands makes all the difference. Thank you for staying with us until the end of this chat. And don't forget to check if you've already subscribed to the channel so you won't miss the next session.